Hey, hi everybody. There's the plane. Must be time. Leslie Zazoo Plazz here for the Sunday Zazoo Plazz report for November 20th, 2022. The Sunday before Thanksgiving. And I got the big puffy coat out already. I feel like I'm in the Arctic. I was walking over, I came into the parking lot to find my lamp here, and no lie, the plane flew directly over me. Like, I was walking here, the plane was coming right over me. I could see the numbers on the bottom of the plane. It was cool. It was so cool. I don't know how that always happens to me, but it does. It reminds me of a time I spent working in Miami in 1991 after I got my MBA. And I had this apartment right near the Miami International Airport. And I used to lie in bed and I could look out my window. There were palm trees there. And the planes used to fly so low, I could read the numbers on the planes coming into the airport. I was also on the golf course too, which kind of, I always wondered if I was going to be walking along someday and see, golf balls flying. Fortunately, that didn't happen. But I'm sure many people saw cockroaches being flung off my balcony on a regular basis. If they survive the, and I think it's true what they say about cockroaches surviving the nuclear winter, because they would go through the, I don't know. I'd open my dishwasher after a sanitizing rinse, and there would be these cockroaches walking around. Yeah, clean, a little dazed, but intact. And then they'd hop out and hop on my floor and continue on their way. So I used to sweep them up as humanely as possible, put them out on the balcony, and I had a broom, and I used to, pretend I was shooting the, ball in the corner pocket and ricochet them out over the parking lot. The poor unsuspecting people walking down below. Hey, so I've been getting into human design lately, and I'm a mountain type, which explains so much. So I like being in high places, and looking down. But so I was at home. I was trying to figure out what song to talk about, and the more I thought about it, I was just going in circles, and I realized it's my sun is conjunct my Mercury this week, Sagittarius. It's the beginning of Sagittarius. I said, I gotta get up and move. Sure enough, I bundled up, I come out here, I'm halfway out here, and I start hearing In Excess, the devil inside, inside. Every single one of us, well, the one. Didn't I already do that song? I must have done that song. But it's kind of, when I think about it, it's kind of that time of year when, they're talking about, here comes the woman, with her words and sharp as knives. And I think, well, that's kind of like, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I think that's probably my, if somebody were to talk about me, they'd say, sometimes my words are my most powerful defense, I guess. Words are what I use, to make my way in the world. So I think that song is, but on the other hand, I can do a lot of good with my words, or I can, the opposite is true. I have to be careful because I can, very easily go too far. So I have to kind of, consider, it's like Sagittarius, he's letting go of the Centaur, the horse person, right? So the legs are important. I gotta gallop around, centaurs like to go out and, frolic in the field, gallop like horses, which explains. So anyway, so I have to be careful before I let go of the arrow. I gotta, make sure that I'm, it's the letting go, really. It's that Scorpio thing. Scorpio doesn't want to let go. And then one of my astrologers said that today, and I'm like, I never thought of that. It's not like a Cupid kind of a thing where you're, looking to, get to somebody in particular in a loving way. It's more of like the arrow is, it's not aimed at a particular target, but it is, if you get in the way, it could be hurtful. It's the process of letting the arrow go and going after your dreams is what it is, aiming those words and those ideas at something that's going to have a positive effect. So that's what I've learned lately. So, in other words, take all my enthusiasm and my joy, and let it out into the world instead of holding on to it. I got a stellium in Sagittarius. It means 3 of my personal planets, Venus, Mercury, and Mars. It's like, your close family as opposed to your extended family, It's like your brothers and sisters and that's like my close companions are all in Sagittarius. So I write about it in the Zazoo Plazz book and to come, and it's just, there's a lot of restless energy there that needs to be, directed toward something cool, right? So, it's, but if that energy is misdirected, it could, I just spin in circles. I don't go anywhere, and I could, start to gnaw on the furniture. I could kind of start knocking things over. You especially don't want to, see, centaurs can't drink. It reminds me, I'm going to post a link. Paul Blart Mall Cop. That's the movie I always think of at Thanksgiving. Kevin James, awesome, really funny. If you haven't seen that movie, I think it's a movie that people of our generation can really relate to, because it takes place at the mall, and it's nostalgic because, it used to be that I don't know, instead of staying home and ordering things online, Black Friday, the day you'd have your Thanksgiving with, your family, and then you'd go to the mall, even in the 90s, and even when my boys were small, they get the picture taken with Santa, and it was even before then, though, 90s, growing up in the 80s, and even the 70s, we had a mall, and, you'd see people at the mall. You'd go and everybody would be there and shopping, and, it didn't really matter what you were buying, but it was that, the coming together, the ritual of what you did, and so I'm gonna post a link to Paul Blart, but in the movie there's this one scene where there's this girl he likes, and he goes into this bar, and he says, I don't drink, and then mistakenly he ends up having a sip of something, his friend's drink or something. He didn't realize he was eating the nachos, and he didn't realize that it was, that it was spiked, the drink. He thought it was just lemonade or something, punch, or I don't know. So he's drinking it, and he's getting drunk, and he's starting to do inappropriate things, and he's drunk, so he doesn't realize his effect on, his friends. He's like putting his nose in the guy's ear, and then he acts in a very boorish way toward this girl who's really sweet, that he likes, and he makes a total, fool of himself and goes crashing through the window. And well, anyway, you have to see it. But that scene, it reminds me, you read in Greek mythology all these centaurs behaving badly. These essentially they come together, for a wedding or something, and then they all start, going at each other. So it's kind of this time of year, right? People get the devil inside comes out, right? The devil inside, every single one of us. Despite our best intentions, we end up, saying the wrong thing, having something to drink and, behaving badly, or, things that we don't normally do. The things that are not, they're not just, they're not fair, things that just kind of come out, so that's kind of the time of year we are in. But we're, and once again I turn to the scriptures. It's Christ the King Sunday, and that's the last Sunday, I believe, before the Advent season. And it talks about Jesus on the cross with the criminals, and everyone's sneering at him and saying to save yourself. People who don't see the big picture, they think, oh, Jesus is like, a magician. He can just kind of snap his fingers and just say a few words and angels will come down, and that's not the whole point. Sure, that could have happened, but, it's like in Mall Cop, right? I mean, if you have a movie, even a comedy, right? Comedy still is trying to make a statement. And if you have conflict, right? It makes the story. It makes things happen. It causes people to react and reflect and make a change. It's in the story. So, all these people are reacting to Jesus. Oh yeah, oh, here's some wine, sneering at him, saying, and then there's this one guy who says, leave him alone. He doesn't deserve this. We're just getting what we deserve, right? We're just, so, like all centaurs behaving badly. Well, we drank a lot, and this is what we get. Somebody, throws a spear at you, and, well, because you're drunk, you didn't, you weren't able to reason, right? You kind of let it fly without thinking. So you get, it's like Saturn, you kind of get what you've got aggression, and then you get what you deserve, So we have to be aware of, I guess, what we're bringing to the table, right? Thanksgiving going with the Thanksgiving message. Yeah, and then there's the one guy next to him. He says to Jesus, he says, remember me. He's got faith. He says, look, I know I did some stupid things. I did some bad stuff, but you didn't deserve it. So, when you get where you're going, remember me, because I want to come with you, right? So it's, so he wants to go to the light. He's got that hope. Even though that he did some bad stuff, he's got the devil inside, but don't we all, right? The people who are, sneering at him, Jesus, they're no better, right? Just a different flavor of, So they all have to, just become aware of those things. And that's what saves them. So it's like, I always think of Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. It's a good little show I used to watch when I was growing up. And I think of, the mess. See, you really do. Thanksgiving does come with a big mess, doesn't it? It's like, Charlie Brown, and he's just minding his own business, and Peppermint Patty goes and invites herself over with all her friends because there's no, communication. She's just inviting herself. She's assuming, right? She said, oh, Chuck, you don't mind if we come over? She didn't give him a chance to say. And then he says, what am I going to do? I got all these people coming. I don't know what to do. So he does his best. He makes toast and, and jelly beans and popcorn. And then she complains about it. She didn't do any work. She didn't even communicate with him to make sure it was the right thing. That's the worst part. It's like inviting yourself over to somebody's house for Thanksgiving without, certain etiquette. But Peppermint Patty is she must have been a Sagittarius. She just, oh, good old Chuck, he won't mind. Well, then Chuck is sitting over there. Now what am I going to do? Instead of saying, Peppermint Patty, I don't have any food. We're going to my grandmother's house for dinner. But anyway, so the movie had to happen, though. I mean, the conflict had to happen. So, they all had to come together. And then Linus goes and, reminds them that this is what Thanksgiving is all about. People coming together, having come out of a dark place, a dark winter, the Pilgrims and the Native Americans having, come from a dark place, survived by helping each other, by coming together and, giving what they each had to make something, better, to make a new, I mean, sure, there were lots of problems. It was messy, right? And it's not like the Thanksgiving probably that we, are used to, where you go to the store or you, like I'm doing this year, I'm going over to my dad's to eat. It's always messy, right? It's like the first Thanksgiving. Well, we're going to bring this and you're going to bring, the planning is everything. Once you, give everybody a job and then everybody brings their gifts all together, even if it's like my husband, he's going to cook for his mother and his cousins and this and that, and I'm going to go spend Thanksgiving with my dad. And my dad wanted Cracker Barrel. And I wanted to do things a little differently. I wanted to go and, get the prepared meal from somewhere else. And I sent him all these links, and I spent all this time, and all he wanted was Cracker Barrel. So we come back to that, and I said, okay, I'll make a couple of pumpkin pies. I'll leave one here for the guys, and I'll go bring one over to my dad. And, so that's how I dealt with it, I'm going to go over, and my dad, he's going to get his Cracker Barrel dinners and with the stuff. It's not usually, it's somewhere he used to go with my mom, and at this time of year, he's missing my mom, and he's comforted by going to, like grief share. People get together and talk about their loved ones who they're missing over the holidays. So he's going to do that. And, but we can't assume. Like with me, I assumed, oh, maybe my dad would want the kind of food that I want. I want to get, Brussels sprouts from here and, or turkey breast. And my tastes are a little, I don't know, I guess I go for a little bit healthier, more homemade kind of stuff. But my dad likes Cracker Barrel because he's 85, so, he's comforted by the down-home cooking. So, so he's going to go and he's going to pick it up and we're going to bring over my pie and we'll look at photos and we'll, it'll be warm and cozy and you won't have to, we used to just bring everybody all together and it just got to be too much. So, and then I usually ended up doing most of the work, which is like, I used to be like Charlie Brown. I've got all these people coming and what am I going to do? So I would assign things to different people and, my husband would make the turkey and the mashed potatoes, gravy, and then I would make everything else. But I'm not doing that anymore. Well, not this year. Because I spoke up for myself and I said, you know what? I have a lot going on. It's kind of a lot of work for one person. So what you have to do is, you got to speak up. you can't assume that somebody wants the same thing you want, or that, so you you can't just go out there and, um, so I have found. And so then what happened at the end of Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, right? They come together. Linus tells the little story, about coming in, and then Peppermint Patty realizes, gee, Chuck, I didn't even realize that you were upset. So then forgiveness comes, right? Linus does his little speech and reminds everybody that giving thanks is the whole purpose of Thanksgiving. It's giving thanks for the blessings that we have, right? Go rejoicing to the house of the Lord. Give thanks for bringing us, let us give thanks to the Father, St. Paul, for bringing us out of the darkness into the light, right? Because no matter what, yeah, it could be better, but yeah, it could be a lot worse. So what we have to do is sit down together to give thanks for this food, whatever we're eating, even if you don't like your, sister-in-law's, cranberry sauce, or your your mother-in-law's, stuffing, or I don't know, just whatever, or your brother-in-law or your brother doesn't, belong to the same political party as you do, or this one and that one, and meanwhile the dog is up on the table eating your dinner. Because dogs don't go in for all that stuff. You got to eat the food while it's hot. And so they all go over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house. House we go. Even though his grandmother lives in a condo. Right? There's something freeing. It's that Sagittarius spirit of, going to the mall and shopping and hunting and, finding the gift, the party, coming together and celebrating, and, in excess, probably too much, right? In excess. We drink to excess, we eat to excess, we shop to excess. Whatever your in excess is, right, comes out this time of year. We talk to excess, we worry to excess. They're all in the I love that, they're all in the station wagon going to grandma's, and everybody forgets the words and starts scrambling all their words, but it's okay. You forget the words. Yeah, I know. Yes, my feet are freezing here. Never mind. I'm not complaining. Sagittarius is the light. It's the light of truth, right? Because it's Jupiter. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. The truth wants to be revealed in every aspect. So maybe you got let go from your job. Maybe you're one of those. But I'm sure a lot of those people, there's always another thing. When one thing ends, something always begins, because the universe abhors a vacuum. It's got a Roomba, goes around. So, I always think, even if you're suffering, you're like the guy on the cross next to Jesus. I always like him because he's real. He's like, look, think this sucks. But Jesus said, well, I'll remember you, right? I'll remember you when I get to where I'm going, and you can come with me. So it's the start of something, right? It's a hope. As we're going into the holiday season and the new year, right? Coming, there's always that hope of better, of freedom, of letting go of something you don't need, so that you can welcome in the new. and the positive and the light, you know, letting go of the dark to go toward the light. Right? But you know, it's not easy. Yeah, I mean, you need a lot of faith, you know, and just, that's the thing. I think we get sometimes, we get so hung up on all the picky little details that we lose sight of, you know, the big picture, right? You know, we want everything to be perfect. I mean, some of the funniest Thanksgiving stories that I can remember that I'm going to put in future Zazoo books have to do with expectations, right? You know, like my dad is still telling these stories, you know, that, oh, you know, there was this time we all used to get together when the grandparents were around, you know, and all the brothers and sisters and the cousins and everybody. And we used to go to my Uncle Mo's house, and there was a big crowd there in his, you know, outside his inside room that he built onto his house. And the guys would be watching the football. The women would be, I don't know, talking, hanging out with the dog, and the kids would hang, you know, we'd be with, my aunt had a dog. And the women would be fussing in the kitchen, you know, in the house. And my dad said, oh, yeah, you know, sometimes, oh, so-and-so, there would always be this discussion of who brought what, and, you know, who gets to take home the leftovers, and who kept the leftovers for themselves. And, you know, it's like, that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of drama that I don't want to deal with. I would observe it as a child. I think, you know, and now that I look back, what a shame. What a shame that so much time, so many wonderful occasions were spoiled by people not appreciating each other, and, you know, flinging insults and, you know, behind the back, and kind of, you know, that kind of stuff. There's no time in life for that. If we all stopped doing that and just said, gee, thank you for this, thank you for that, you know, let's come together and let's just have a nice meal and, you know, talk about our hopes for the future. And let's talk about, you know, the kids home from college. My youngest son last night, he had a friend, went up to Boston, Fenway Park. They had some kind of, I'm like, he says, oh, I'm going to see emu. Emo. I'm like, who's emu? Emo. He said, Mom, emo, you don't know who emo is? And Pierce the Veil. I'm like, oh, is it like Pierce the Toast? Like in the birdcage when Nathan Lane pierces the toast. Ah, Pierce the Toast. Ah. No, he's like, Mom, Pierce the Veil. So I'm like, okay. And I sent him a link, you know, to where to park, so he doesn't have to drive into Boston, and what tea to take and everything, because I went to college, you know, there in Newton, Chestnut Hill. So he's like, I said, oh, how's the concert? Awesome. He comes home at 1:30. He said, oh yeah, we found parking like right across the street from Fenway Park for $20. Like, you mean I spent like freaking half an hour searching all this stuff, just like I did for my dad, all these, you know, links and dinner ideas and stuff. I'm not going to do that. You know, you people are on your own. This is what I have to stop doing. But it's hard to break those habits. Sometimes the devil inside is, you know, you mean to do well, but you're shortchanging yourself. It's your own energy. So they can buy an apple pie. I'm not making it. So anyway, I'm thankful for my Zazoo Plazz community. Thank you for listening and listening to my videos and being part of my Zazoo Plazz community. And I'm looking forward to the year ahead with everyone. And have a wonderful, if you celebrate it, if you're American, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Stay warm. Take care.